So, welcome to today's session. We're going to be talking about really how to grow and scale your digital marketing agency. We talked about the stages that an agency goes through, and sometimes we're focused just on landing clients. Sometimes we're focusing on delivering results. Sometimes we're focused on the operational aspects within the agency. And today's session is going to be mainly on that operational side of the equation. But let me know in the comments if this tracks for you. The reason we run these agencies, what we're really after is money, freedom, and impact, right? Obviously, we run the business so that we can have the money that we need to live our desired lifestyle, to do the things we want to do, to be able to potentially buy the nice car, put our kids in the nice school, buy the nice house, right? We want a profitable business that provides the money we need to live a great life. But we also want freedom, right? We want to make sure that we've structured the business that it's not all on us, that we don't have to work 60 hours a week, that we've got the freedom to travel, to spend time with our kids or our friends, to do the things that we really, really want. And then ultimately, we want impact, right? Knowing that what we're doing isn't a cash grab, but we're actually impacting the clients we serve. They're growing, they're investing in their team, and they're having growth. And then we're also building our own team, and they're growing as a function of that outcome as well. So what's the biggest part of this? Is it the impact? Is it all three? Is it just the money? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to know, as you think about your agency and what you're trying to build and why you're trying to build it, what's the biggest component? Freedom, all three, says a lot of us. Jessica, glad to have you on here. Impact all the way, serving our clients, knowing that our clients are growing and they're getting a great result. Impact and freedom, all three. Okay, fantastic. So in order to do that, in order to build a digital marketing agency that can provide those three things, we have to solve for a couple of things. First of all, we have to land clients, right? We have to have a process to get new retainer-based clients month in and month out. Secondarily, we have to deliver results, right? We have to actually be able to knock it out of the park for the clients with our services, whether it's the SEO, the pay-per-click, the social media, the blend of things. We've got to deliver results and ideally deliver them in a scalable fashion, right? Where we're not reinventing the wheel for every client. We're not trying to figure it out and chase our tail, but there's a systematized approach where we know what we're going to do for the client. We've got it mapped in advance and our team executes, right? And we could deliver the goods for the clients. And then number three is we have to retain, right? If we can't retain the clients that we get, we're never going to grow the business. It's never going to create the freedom. It's never going to create the money that we want. So it really requires all three of these things. And then ultimately, we have to scale, which is where we put the systems, the procedure, the team in place so that we're not personally doing it all ourselves, but the quality of the results are still there. I'd love to know in the comments, when you think about this, what's the biggest opportunity for right now? Or what's the area that's weakest? Is it landing clients? Maybe you're not getting as many clients on a monthly basis as you need. Maybe it's the delivery side because it's taking too much time, or you're dropping the ball on certain areas within the business. Or maybe it's on retention. We're getting clients and I think we're doing a good job, but they're leaving too often. Landing clients, I got a bunch of landing clients, and a lot of my training is around landing clients and how to use the funnel and how to get prospects to raise their hands. Some of you guys are saying the retention side. So seems like a healthy mix. Reality is it's all important, because if you're great at landing clients and you don't deliver the goods, you're not going to have much to show for it anyway. So we need a healthy balance of all three in order to really get what we're after. So hopefully you guys can see my screen and that I'm large enough. Just give me a yes if so. I'm going to walk you through the agency scale model. And this is the first time I'm sharing this publicly, but I want to give you a model that you can wrap your head around that says, okay, what does it actually take to run a scalable digital marketing agency? And there's really three key things that you have to put in place within your operations in order to scale. Number one is your team, right? If you're going to build a seven-figure, multiple seven-figure, even potentially an eight-figure agency, you can't do that yourself, right? You're going to need a team in place that's going to do the work for you. You can't get there. And also, if you did get there on your own, you definitely wouldn't have the freedom, right? So the team aspect of this is super important. Number two is we have to have systems and procedures. So the way that the work gets done, the way that the operation is handled. We've got to have the systems and procedures dialed in. And then number three is we need an operating system, a leadership system in terms of how we lead that team, how we keep the innovation going within the business, how we continue to innovate and grow as an organization. So when it comes to the team piece of this equation, number one is we need an accountability chart, which is commonly referred to as an organizational chart, which is what are the key functions within the business? And then who's responsible for landing clients? Who's responsible for the SEO? Who's responsible for account management and retention? We want to have that on a map called an accountability chart with who are those people? And maybe right now it's you in almost all of the seats. But unless you've got an accountability chart that's live, that's dynamic, that's being updated as you grow, you'll never be able to create the freedom that you're after. So we want to have a nice, tight organizational accountability chart that's live and dynamically updated. Number two is we need a hiring process because, again, if we're going to build a team, we need to be able to post the ad, have the job description, get the right candidates in, be able to quickly vet like who's a good fit, who's a wrong fit, the testing and the thought process behind who we actually put into the organization. We need a hiring process, right, where we can get the right people on board, get them trained up, and get them into productive work within the agency as quickly as possible. And then number three, as it relates to your team, you have to make sure you've got quality onboarding and training. So if you're growing from $1 million to $2 million to $3 million to $5 million to 8 figures, you're going to constantly be hiring, you're going to constantly be training, and you need to have a great onboarding process because if you hire someone, they've got options. They could work for you, they could work for a bunch of other places. If you don't have a great onboarding process, just like you do with your clients, where they're welcome, they're clear on what to expect, maybe they're getting something good in the mail that gets them excited about this opportunity, they're quickly going to churn out, right? And so this is the team aspect. I'd love you to rate yourself as you think about your agency, where you sit right now. I've got a traffic light, but really I want you to rate yourself on a 1 to 3 scale. So 1 being, I don't have my accountability chart. 2 being like, I've got an accountability chart, but it's not up to date. I don't have all the key positions. And then 3 would be nice and tight. Like it's super tight, it's super clear. I just want you guys to rate yourself on all 3 of these. This is a self-assessment so you can identify the opportunity that you need to focus on as you look to build the team. And if you want to drop a number, some of you guys are dropping a number, and team as a whole, how would you rate yourself? 3, got an amazing team, got amazing hiring, got an amazing organizational chart. 2 being there's room for improvement, and 1's like, nope, don't have any of that stuff. Jessica's giving a plumbing HVAC SEO a 3. I hope so. Good. That's fantastic. All right. I'm seeing ranges between 1 and 3. Fantastic. Okay. When it comes to the systems and procedures, right? Like we said, we need to make sure that everything is nice and clear within the organization. First thing would be to have playbooks. And so there's lots of great information on how to build SOPs, lots of information about playbooks and things like that. One of my favorite books on this topic today. So obviously I'm a big fan of Traction by Gino Wickman, but there's also another great book by Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time. And he refers to those operational documents within the business as playbooks. And so you would want to have a dynamic playbook for how you hire, how you fire, how you onboard, but then also how do you actually launch a new client? How do you do your SEO? How do you do your paid search? How do you do your marketing within your agency? You want a playbook for each of the different components within the business. And I think a lot of us know we need this. I know we struggle this for a long time, at Plumbing and HVAC SEO, thinking, that would be a 1,000-page manual, right? And no one would ever reference it. The key is you want to look for the 80-20 within each of those different functions within the business. What's the 20% of the tasks that drive 80% of the results? And you want it to be in a living, breathing place, right? So when I say living, breathing, I would say let's put this on Google Drive. Let's have a Google Drive folder for each of the departments, and then let's have a separate document for each of those playbooks. And then let's have a Google Sheet that interlinks all the playbooks So it's easy for the leader within that department to go in and update it, to keep it live, to keep it dynamic. But these playbooks are what keep your agency moving. And so it keeps the consistency of the delivery within the business. Number two is we want to have project management. So a playbook is a description of like what the strategy looks like. Project management are the actual micro tasks and the micro steps that need to be done with the tracking mechanism behind them. There's some amazing project management systems. Over the years, we've probably used almost all of them. Today, we use ClickUp. That's our go-to platform. I like ClickUp because we're able to map out the client services in advance, figure out, okay, if we're doing SEO and pay-per-click, and we're doing social media, and we're doing email marketing and marketing automation, for each one of those, what are the steps? Who's responsible? How long does it take to get that done? And a checkbox that literally the team members within the organization check off as those things get done. And so we want to have a project management system. Could be as simple as a Google Sheet, could be as complex as a pre-built template in ClickUp. But that makes sure that you actually deliver what you promise to the client, right? That it's happening and it's happening consistently and well. And one thing I'll tell you when it comes to project management within your agency, if you're the agency owner, you're the visionary within the business, you probably don't need to be spending or shouldn't be spending most of your time in that area within the business. As I talk about how you scale and the key positions you want to remove yourself from, I got stuck in this for a long time. I got to get this all on Google Sheets and it has to be perfect. And I'm a very high quick start, low follow through personality type, which most entrepreneurs are. And so I would get excited about it, but then I wouldn't follow through and I wouldn't check those boxes. And before you know it, there's thousands of tasks that never got completed. Deadlines are missed. And so you need a true operation-centric person that is high follow through, low quick start, that will manage those tasks for you. If you try and do all this yourself as the entrepreneur, you're going to wind up failing. You're going to wind up dropping balls all over the place. And then number three is we want to have financial controls, right? Because what's the point of having a 7-figure or an 8-figure agency if we're not having a healthy profit margin on the other side? And so from a financial controls perspective, we should all have a professional bookkeeping service. Our revenues and our expenses should be flowing through a system like QuickBooks Online or like Xero. Our chart of accounts should be easy to understand, where we can see how much revenue was there, how much was the actual cost of delivery, how much was overhead, and then what's our operating profit, right? And two different profit methodologies I'm a big fan of. The first is Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. Less than $1 million per year, you absolutely need to set up Profit First. I've got a great little spreadsheet and a great training that shows you exactly how to implement that within your agency. North of 7 figures, you want to probably move to more like a simple numbers strategy within your financial management, just because you can be a little more strategic, forward thinking. Hey, we're going to need more account managers. We're going to need more capacity. You can make better decisions. But usually what I'm finding is between a 25 and 35% profit is a great target for a digital marketing agency. Now, if you've got 1 client or 5 clients and it's just you, it's probably more like 80 or 90%. But at scale, about 20 to 35% is a great sweet spot profit that you take or your partners take in salary plus profit plus executive benefits. So if you're paying for cars and vacations and stuff, that would be part of that 25 to 30% number that you're shooting for. So, I mean, a lot in here. Would love for you to rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 3 as it relates to the systems and procedures within your agency. How are you doing? Got some 2s, got some 1s, a 3, fantastic, 1.5, 2. All right, this is good self-assessment. Ideally, in each of these different pockets, you need to get them all up to a 3. But maybe there's just like, I'm not looking at the financials the way that I should right now. And so that's an opportunity to trigger. I need to go back through my books. I need to be looking at it on a monthly basis. I want awareness precedes change. So hopefully it brings some new awareness to your approach. Okay. And then number 3 is an operating system. And this is really how the business runs? What's the meeting rhythms look like? Like how do we engage? How do we improve? How do we innovate within our agency? The operating system we run, and I'm a big fan of, is called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's based on the book Traction. Type EOS if you're running EOS within your agency today. I know a lot of agencies do run EOS, and it's really about the leadership team. It's about the scorecards and the data points. But most importantly, it's the monthly meeting rhythms that you use to operate the business. We were at about $1.5 million per year in revenue when we implemented EOS. And it was me and my business partner, Dean. And so we're both high, quick start, low follow through people, making all the decisions in the business, but not having a true leadership team that can step up, that can make decisions, that could be truly accountable for the areas within the business. We kind of plateaued there for a little bit. But as we got EOS implemented and we started to be able to have that team step up within their areas within the business, we started to really see financial growth. And of course, now we're well over $5 million per year. But we also have more freedom than ever because we've got an amazing team that really owns the key areas within the business. And I truly believe having EOS properly set up and established within our agency was huge for that accomplishment. So number one is the actual operating system, the entrepreneur operating system. Number two is level 10 meetings. So if you don't have a meeting rhythm within the business where you and your leadership team, where you and your department heads are getting together and a structured meeting agenda, which is like what's covered on these meetings, how do we make them productive, how do we actually make sure that things are getting solved within the business, that is the level 10 meeting. And I've got a great video that explains what a level 10 meeting is and kind of how to structure that level 10 meeting. But the nutshell is it's a 90-minute meeting that happens every single week with your leadership team, and it should never be skipped. And there's a component for just checking in with the team. Hey, what's going on? What's positive? Then there's a component for the scorecards, which there should be a scorecard for each of the different areas, for client acquisition, for delivery, for client retention. You've got the key metrics that the leaders for each of the departments report. And then there's time for IDS, which is the most important aspect, which is knowing that there's going to be a time to identify, discuss, and solve issues within the business. And before we had these level 10 meetings happening on a weekly basis, it was constant got a minute meetings. And so if you've got team reaching out to, hey, you got a quick minute? Hey, I got this problem. Hey, we need to get this solved. And you constantly feel like you're chasing your tail with got a minute meetings, type got a minute. If you've ever had this in your life, you feel like, man, we can't get anything done because we're constantly stopping and jumping into these breakouts and trying to solve things. By having the level 10 meeting and knowing that that's the time where they can bring those issues and they're not just going to be brought, but they're actually going to be solved, that is a breakthrough in your agency. And that's where level 10s happen. And so you want to have that at the leadership level, but then you also want to have it at a departmental level. So in my world today, we've got a leadership meeting, which is me, my business partner, our operations director, the lead of SEO, the lead of paid search, the lead of account management. We IDS, right? But then each of those department heads has a level 10 meeting with their team. So the web dev person meets weekly and does this just for web dev. SEO does it just for SEO. Account management does it just for account management. And in this way, you've constantly got things moving within each of the different areas within the business. Give me a yes if that makes sense. If you feel like, it's important, but it's also like critical to understand, like that's what you want to be doing. Okay, great. And then the third is an ongoing quarterly planning, annual planning process where every year you're looking out into the next year. What are the goals? What are the targets? What are the stuck points? What are the big rocks, the big things we're going to want to move forward? And then on a quarterly basis, where you're meeting and you're saying, okay, how did we do last quarter? What's the goal for this quarter? What are the big rocks we're going to get done this particular quarter? And so we really believe that a quarterly planning and annual planning works really well. I think at $2 million or more, you definitely want to engage an EOS implementer for that process. And so within EOS, you can self-implement, or you can pay their certified implementers to come in and facilitate. And actually, we decided to have an implementer come in right out of the gates. And I've got a lot of people in seven-figure agency that have, they kind of decided they would do it on their own, and we'll see how it goes. There's a massive difference trying to implement EOS on your own versus having an implementer, because an implementer can come in and they can facilitate the process. So you don't have to, as the leader, run the entire show. EOS is the entrepreneur's operating system, Derek, based on the book Traction. But I think the biggest reason having an implementer is a game changer is because as the owner, if you're running the meeting and you're airing the questions, you're going to dominate the conversation, right? And your leadership team, the director of SEO, the director of PPC, the director of account management, won't be able to step up and have their voice heard. They won't be able to typically step up and make decisions. They'll be waiting for you to tell them what to do. What I found is when we have an implementer there that's guiding that process, me and my business partner, Dean, can kind of sit back, chime in where it makes sense, but let the leaders elevate, let the leaders step up and take ownership within those areas. Derek, hopefully that answers your question there in terms of what EOS is. So when it comes to operating system, well, how would you rate yourself? Do you have a true operating system that's running, ideally EOS? Do you have level 10 meetings happening within your organization week in and week out? And are you doing that quarterly, that annual planning process to keep yourself looking forward, to keep yourself making decisions? Drop some numbers in the comments. 1, if it's like, nope, don't have any of that stuff. 2, if it's like, we got some of it, but not all of it. And then 3, if it's like, you've got it locked in and it's dialed in. I'm seeing some 2s. I'm seeing some 1s. Any questions on this model specifically? Any questions anybody wants to ask here in the comments? Happy to have a conversation about this. You can either raise your hand or type question in the comments. Otherwise, I'll just keep pressing forward. All right. Not seeing any questions. That is cool. Oh, Kimberly, go ahead. I see your question. Ryan Hurst, this can apply at any stage, really. It's just, this is going to be most applicable when you kind of get to $500,000 per year, $1 million per year. You want to do all of this stuff to truly scale and create freedom within the business and deliver at a world-class level. But it's really, our business is 5 million and this is what we operate. Kimberly, did you want to unmute and answer your question? There you are. I see you. If you want to chat it, that would be fine. Can't get the sound to work. Okay, no worries. If you just type it in, that's fine. Let me see here. How would you develop an SOP? Just started using Notion for SOPs and don't have a playbook. So Notion is great, actually. If you're comfortable with Notion and you can set up the folder structure within Notion and your team can get into Notion and make updates and modifications, that's a great thing. There's 3 things you want within any of your playbooks. Number 1 is like, what's the outcome? For this playbook, like, what does it look like when it's done? Number 2 is you want to use what Dan Martell refers to as the Loom method, which is where you would shoot a video explaining that process, or like actually documenting you doing the process or somebody within your team doing the process. And then you'd have a checklist below that, which is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, that outlines the entire process. When you do it like that, you can take somebody that's totally green, that's never done this, get them into the process, and they can watch the video and then follow along with the checklist. Then I think the last thing you want is a completion checklist, which would be for that person that's already done the job 5, 6, 10 times. They know how to do it, but you just want to make sure that these 3 to 5 things get done every single time. You'd have that checklist down at the bottom. I would think either Google Docs or Notion work best for this. Trainual is an awesome platform that you can put all your processes in, but it tends to overcomplicate the process. I've seen a lot of agencies sign up for Trainual, put in like 5 or 6 processes, and then never get it done. Hopefully that answered that question. Um, okay. Kimberly, I apologize that I wasn't able to. Do you want to try one more time to unmute? No, can't hear you. Sorry. Close, close, but no cigar on the question. Feel free to put it in the chat, and or we can come back to it at the end. All right, cool. That's some good questions there, guys. Appreciate the questions and the engagement. I'm going to share my screen here for this next part. So 5 key principles here as it relates to scaling your agency. And I do want you guys to like type in your questions if you have them as we go. So principle one is that we want to make sure that your model is built to scale. My first agency was called was called Develicom. It was a web design and hosting company. It wasn't built to scale. Like I was selling project work to anybody that I could get my hands on, and I was chasing my tail. We're literally reinventing the wheel from one client to the next, charging in the wrong way. We're charging $1,000 for the website and then like $50 a month for the ongoing hosting of the site. Spent 3 years sitting in BNI meetings, doing cold calls, selling 5 or 6 websites a month, and using all of that money just to cover the operating expenses. Made no money for like literally 3+ years. After that, I worked at a couple different agencies. I got some experience, some expertise, and my next agency grew to 7 figures in the first 24 months, plumbing and HVAC SEO, that is. And the difference was the model, right? I was focused on plumbing and HVAC companies. I was selling a monthly recurring based service over $1,000 per month. I wasn't doing any check payments. I wasn't taking any projects. And if you can set your model up like that, where it's all recurring, it's all for a very specific vertical, you're actually in a model that can scale. So that's step number one, making sure you've got a scalable model. Would love to know if there's any questions on that, like how do I set up your model to make sure it's built to scale? This is one of those topics I can talk about for hours, but I just want to make sure you guys get the main point here. You could be working extremely hard, but if you don't have the right model, there's no way you're going to get the outcomes that you're after. Okay. Number two is we want to map out the accountability chart. And so, how many of you guys have read the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber? E-Myth Revisited, just type E-Myth in the comments. Are you guys hearing me? Is my audio still working? Okay, good. Justin, good to see you, man. Glad to have you on here. So in the E-Myth, there's a great example of this aviation company. 2 brothers own it, and they're not able to grow the business. And both brothers assume the other brother's doing whatever needs to be done within the business. And the main exercise that Michael Gerber has these guys do is to map out the accountability chart and say, like, what are the key functions within the business, right? We've got sales, and then we've got operations, and then we've got client delivery and retention, and then we've got, accounting and admin and finance, right? Those are the key functions within the business. And then in this chart, actually put the name of who's responsible. Is it brother A or brother B? Or is it someone else within the organization? And by putting that clarity in place and figuring out who they were going to hire as they grew, totally changed the game. And it grew to a multi-million-dollar business. And so as foundational as that is, I find most agencies don't have a true accountability chart. And they're certainly not updating it as they go. And so I'm going to share with you guys a template that you'll be able to open up and map your accountability chart. Whether you want to do it in a flowchart system or you want to make it look pretty in Canva, I've got a couple templates for this that I'm going to share with you. Any questions on accountability chart or kind of the key roles, the key positions? Yeah, exactly right. It's just like an organizational chart. EOS refers to it as an accountability chart. It's the hierarchy within the organization. All right. Number 3 is to find people that play at what you have to work at. For me, this was like a big mind shift. I always figured, I'm good with websites. I'm good with SEO. I'm good with sales. I'm good with communication. I'm going to have to do these things within the business. There's also things that have to be done within the business that I'm not good at, but have to be done, like doing the books, like ordering the content, and all of those different things. And I didn't feel like I would be able to hire someone to, let's just say, do cold calling or hire someone to manage the books, because it felt like if I don't want to do it, nobody's going to want to do it. And the reality is, there's people that play at those things that you feel are hard work, those things that you think suck. There's people that want that job, that want that opportunity. And so, as you're growing and as you're looking at that accountability chart and the different areas within the business that you need to place people in, find the people that play at that particular task. When you've got people that are passionate about what they do, that are just naturally gifted in those areas, your business is going to flourish. And there's a great book called The Answer by John Osseroff. And it's a great book, but the one thing that really stuck out at me from that book was this concept of finding people that play at what you have to work at. Hire for your weaknesses, says John. Absolutely. Number 4 is we want to develop those systems and those procedures, right? We talked about, the playbooks and then the project management system. The key here is not to overthink it, not to feel like it has to be perfect, but just to map out, like, what are those key areas within the business? And let's put them onto a spreadsheet. And then let's knock off the most important, the ones that get used every day within the business that can be up to date with the playbook method of a Loom video, a descriptive overview, and then an actual, checklist of the key things that have to get done within the business. And then number 5 is we got to recruit, train, and manage, right? Ideally in your agency, you're not the one every day talking to the clients. You're not the one potentially every day writing the website content or building the website or setting up the funnel. If you want to be the entrepreneur within the business, if you want to be the visionary within the business, you've got to get good at getting clear at the roles that you need to fill and recruiting great talent, training that talent up, and then managing them and keeping them engaged, and keeping them excited about the vision for the organization, the impact that the organization's having on the clients that you serve. Multitasking is a myth, absolutely, says John. Nick says apprentices, hire for anything you can't handle. Okay, good. I appreciate you guys engaging there. Okay, so I want to talk about some of the key positions that you're going to want to put in place as you grow and as you scale. Again, you're going to see the accountability chart here in a minute. I'm going to give you a template to work within. But usually it's like what order should I hire within my agency? And I can reverse engineer based on what worked for me. And I can reverse engineer based on the 120 or so agencies that have now grown to 7 figures within the 7-figure agency framework. And typically, this is the order that we see. The first position you want to remove yourself from is operations management and delivery. So that's doing the SEO, doing the pay-per-click, doing the social media posts, actually building the websites, creating the graphics, doing the work. If you're still the person doing that work, it's likely that you've got a job, not a business, right? And if you're doing that work, there's no way you can focus on innovation. There's no way you can focus on business development. And so looking back at plumbing and HVAC SEO, when we first started, it was literally just me and my business partner, Dean, sitting in a 10 by 10 room, selling internet marketing services to plumbing and HVAC companies. And I would sell the client, and then I would say, hey, all right, let's set up the domain and let's go start writing the content. And we did that work very briefly, recognized what the right process was, at least at the time. And then the first position we hired was an operations person. And at the time we figured, okay, this guy's just going to do everything, right? He's going to build the websites and he's going to do it all. But really, eventually he became the operations manager and started placing the people underneath. And so first thing you want to remove yourself from, if you're going to grow and scale your agency, is the operations, the delivery, and ultimately the management of the operations and delivery. Justin says, until we changed that, we were bottlenecked by our own limited capacity. Absolutely. And Justin's an amazing example. They've grown their agency in the cleaner space, like dry cleaning companies, to high 7 figures, continuing to grow, continuing to scale. So Justin, thanks for sharing. That's a great takeaway. Okay, second position you want to remove yourself from as you grow and as you scale your agency is account management, right? To scale an agency, we've got to land clients, we've got to deliver results, and then we've got to retain. And typically, if you're still the person onboarding the client, hey, welcome aboard, really excited about working with you. Let me get your usernames, let me get your passwords. Here's what we're going to do, like that onboarding process. And then you're the main point of contact with the client month in and month out. Right? And if we want to retain, we know we got to be meeting with the client every month. We got to be reviewing the reports. We got to be seeding the vision. We've got to be, responsive to their requests. As the owner of the agency, you're probably going to start to bottleneck around 17 accounts. That's what I've seen. And so if that's still you and you want to scale to the next level, this is the position that you need to remove yourself from, right? You need to get somebody that's a great communicator, somebody that can really have those relationships, but is also strategic enough that can answer the questions, that can explain the value. If you're still going to talk to every client every month and you're still going to run the operations, you're going to be bottlenecked. And so that's the second position. And probably depending upon how you structure your account management process, we've got Jessica on, she's our launch coordinator, one of our top account managers in plumbing and HVAC SEO. The account manager in our agencies typically are the QB, right? So they're not actually doing any of the work. They're not building the website or doing the SEO, but they're meeting with the client. They're seeing the vision. They're answering those questions. And then they're the QB with the team to say, hey, we need this page created. Hey, this isn't performing well. Please go and make the necessary adjustments. So they're playing QB. If that's how you structure your account managers, typically they're going to be able to handle between 25 and 30 accounts, right? More than that, the service level starts to drop off a little bit. And so we tend to hire about every 20 accounts. So like if we're a full load, we start recruiting for the next account manager at about 20, knowing that they're going to grow to between 25 and 30 before they start to cap out. Nick, great question. Hopefully that answered that particular question. Any questions on account management, building your account management team, hiring for that account manager role? I know this is a big topic and something that we've spent a lot of time and energy on. Rodham says, I'm at 20K a month with a 70% profit. Nice. I have 13 clients. Do you think I should hire account manager and let her manage the operations? Or should I hire someone for operations, keep doing the account management until it becomes a bottleneck? I think in your case, and congratulations to get to that level and for the 13 of the 70% profit, you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit of that 70% in the short term, like as you hire. I would think operations first, so that you're not actively doing the operations. And then I would want to get an account manager to take off the 13 accounts, right? Probably as you get to 13 accounts, you're pretty full. I think it's a mistake typically to think you're going to hire someone that can both manage operations and be an account manager and do both well, right? Or hey, let's just hybrid them. I think functional expertise is best. So get the account manager in place or get the operations person in place. Let them run that particular thing and then let the revenue grow to the place where you can put that in place. Let me know if that answers the question. Hopefully it did. Tyke says, do you use sites like Upwork to hire? I think for certain roles, and I'm going to share, I think I'm going to be sharing with you guys a document, the key positions that you want to hire as you scale. Certain positions lend themselves to a site like Upwork. So maybe your PPC team, your SEO team, your web dev team, you can recruit quality people, pay higher than the average wage, and then bring those people full-time into your organization as virtual full-time talent. I use those types of sites for that. I think for mainly for your account managers, your sales team, your operations directors, you want those to be hired through LinkedIn or through Indeed, and people that you can be really fully dedicated to you. So Tyke, hopefully that answers the question. Can account managers do new business generation? Nick, typically not. So typically your account manager is the retention side of the equation. So could they potentially do both? Yes. Again, I find that usually the account manager isn't a strong hunting style salesperson. They're not a hardcore closer. Could they handle, selling? Yes, but it's more like upsells and things like that. So I would say keep your account managers. They're managing the client. They're looking for opportunities to increase the MRR from that existing client base, and they should have upsell opportunities and things like that they can work with. But you would want to have someone dedicated to new business development. I think if you try and do both, what's going to happen is either your actual accounts are going to get neglected because the account manager's focused on sales, or you're going to not sell the way you should because they're focused on retaining the clients. Again, I'm more of the mind you want to have very specific people in very specific roles within the business so they can take ownership and accountability. Nick, let me know if that answered the question. Paul, what's a net revenue gross media spend, such as Google PPC, that you want to see before you hire an account manager? Okay, so in our world, we charge a monthly recurring fee, and then ad spend is completely separate to that, right? And so the ad spend would be completely separate, and then the only role that kind of would be contingent on ad spend would be the pay-per-click management or the Google Ads management side of the house. And that's usually more on a per client basis. Our average client pays at this point $3,500 per month. That's our management fee. The average account manager has about 25 accounts. So that's about $85,000 to $90,000 in managed revenue per account manager. So hopefully that, Paul, answers that particular question. Jessica says there's an upsell component to the account management. Absolutely, yes. They, like what we found, the best account managers are focused on the client, focused on keeping those clients engaged, but they also have the sales ability to say, hey, look, you're ready to do a new location, or hey, look, we should be doing reputation management for you, or hey, look, we should be doing Google Ads, or whatever. They can upsell those additional opportunities and create new income streams for themselves and grow the top line revenue within the business. Okay, so Freddie, do you think we can hire account managers from Mexico and outside the United States, or do you recommend hiring United States only? It's a great question. It's a question and actually an answer that has changed for me in our agency over the years. So plumbing and HVAC SEO started in Doral, Florida. So that's like an area right outside of Miami. And we had an office in Miami. Everybody came in every day. It was a very local team. And we had like 35 employees working out of our local office in Miami. At that time, if you asked me this question, I would say 100% your account managers need to be US based, right? They need to be native English speaking, and you'd have to be crazy to hire someone international. When COVID happened, we went virtual, right? And so we wound up, all of us, working from home in South Florida. And at that time, we were like, well, we need to continue to grow the team. We need to continue to acquire great talent. And it was no longer important that they be in Miami. We could hire from anywhere. We could find the best talent anywhere in the United States. And that started to question our thinking around, well, is the best talent have to be in the United States and Canada? Or could they be in Pakistan? Could they be in the Philippines? Could they be in South Africa, for instance? And what we found was great pockets of account management talent in South Africa. Jessica is an example of that. And just amazing talent that can have great conversations with the client, that can retain the client. And so in my current thinking, you want to find the best talent within the price range that makes financial sense for your agency, regardless of location. Now, do they need to be fluent in English? Do they need to be like really articulate? Absolutely, right? But you can find great talent outside of North America to serve your clients. And what we found was that talent is usually going to command a lower salary. They're also going to be more likely to retain long-term, right? Because this is a great opportunity for them, and they're less likely to hop ship, to other places when you hire them in that way. Perfect. Okay, good. I think I answered all the questions there. Thanks for the interaction, guys. I appreciate you guys asking these questions. The goal is to add value and to fill in the blanks and kind of give you guys the insights that you need to scale your agencies. Third position you want to hire for is a marketing support and or marketing assistant. And this would be like, if you start to do the math in how much you're worth within your agency, regardless if you're doing $500,000 per year, $1 million per year, $3 million per year, the value of your time is going to start to creep up. That's going to be super valuable. And if you're still doing some of the administrative tasks in your business, like if you're still checking your emails, if you're still checking your social messenger and you're pressing refresh all day, that's preventing you from focusing on other things that can move your business, move your life forward. If you're still setting up your webinars, syndicating your webinars, loading up your own videos, doing all the little tasks that you would normally do within marketing, you can hire amazing assistants that can step in, do that stuff for you, be able to give it undivided attention at a fraction of your hourly wage. And so that would be the third position. Dan, I know Dan Martell says marketing assistant or assistant first. I'm just, based on my experience, this was the way that we rolled it out, the way that a lot of the successful agencies have done it. Operations, then account management, then marketing assistant, personal assistant type role. And that can be the same person. That's your marketing assistant and your personal assistant that's checking your emails, booking your travels, paying the little bills that need to be paid that come in from time to time. And then fourth, I don't think I have a slide for it, but usually that fourth position is then sales. Because usually as the agency owner, we're good at positioning, we're good at selling, and that's the last thing we want to give up. But if we really want to continue to scale and we want to have the freedom, we want to put somebody in place that can take the sales calls, that can ask for the business, that can close deals. I think one of the most powerful and empowering feelings in your agency is the day that somebody signs up on a monthly retainer that you didn't have to talk to. Like literally, they saw your marketing, they had a meeting, they signed up, and then of course, operations takes it, onboards them, kicks the service off, account management retains the client, has those conversations. At that stage, you truly have a scaled agency where it's continuing to grow, it's continuing to deliver, it's continuing to innovate without you personally being involved in every aspect within the business. So those are the key positions. Any questions on any of those roles and kind of the order at which we suggest you hire for those roles? Full cycle, says Raji. Yeah, 100%. It is a beautiful and empowering feeling. Who does the initial free session, account manager or sales? Nick, that would be sales. So you'd either have a salesperson or you'd have an appointment setter and then a salesperson. I wouldn't be burdening my account managers to do the strategy session or the discovery call. Let your account managers manage the client relationships and focus on that stuff.